This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it. You've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about this.
And look, Aaron, those aren't the only times that we found that he used it. He also used it a lot on social media. Look at a few of these right here. You see there, that is a lot of use of Latinx by him for somebody who said that nobody in his office has ever used that.
So Gavin Newsom finally slipped and told the truth. I know you probably had to rewind that clip just to make sure your ears weren't deceiving you. Because let's be real, when's the last time California's slick-haired governor dropped anything other than a shiny rehearsed soundbite? Exactly. But there he was, sitting across from Bill Maher, doing the unthinkable, admitting cancel culture is real, admitting Democrats have a problem, even nodding to the idea that the party is steering itself into a permanent minority. Bill's face said it all pure shock, like he just witnessed a solar eclipse. Newsom, the guy who dodges reality for a living, dropped two rare words: I agree.
John Fetterman was in the news today. He said, we're talking about the Democratic Party, he said, if we don't get our shit together, we're going to be a permanent minority.
I agree.
And I see you're doing something about it. I applaud it. I think it's great. You've got this podcast. You're talking to people. You know, it's amazing to me that even that is controversial to some people. They call it platforming. If you talk to someone you don't agree with.
Yeah.
I feel like this country is divided into owners and healers. People who think you can own the other side.
Now, before anyone breaks out the champagne, let's keep it real. Gavin didn't suddenly find honesty in his soul. This wasn't a confession, it was an audition. Newsom knows California is crumbling on his watch. Homelessness out of control, crime spiking, businesses fleeing, families buried under insane taxes and housing costs. His glossy image is cracking. So what's the fix? A rebrand. He's not pitching himself as California's slick governor anymore. He wants to be America's therapist-in-chief. The healer. The uniter. And his big tool for that. A podcast. Yeah. Newsom wants to heal America with a podcast. Sounds less like leadership and more like a bad Netflix spin-off.
Gavin Newsom owned DeSantis.
Yeah.
DeSantis destroyed Gavin Newsom.
Yeah.
Or people who want to talk and heal. And I feel like the next president's going to be, at least if it comes from this party, the Democratic Party, someone who wants to talk and heal. And I feel like we're doing that.
And he's not subtle about it either. He keeps sliding his podcast into conversations like it's casual, but it's not strategy. His reset button. His proof that he can talk to the other side. He bragged about bringing on Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk, not because he suddenly cares about debate, but because it makes his 2028 audition tape look edgy. But here's the kicker. In selling this new image, he slipped. He called the Democratic brand toxic. His words. Not mine.
It's really been interesting, the reaction to the podcast. I mean, we had some controversial figures on, I'll acknowledge that, and Steve Bannon, Charlie Kirk, and some others. But you're right. I mean, this idea that we can't even have a conversation with the other side.
You have to. They won.
Thank you. That's it. Bottom line. And by the way, or the notion we just have to continue to talk to ourselves or we're in the same damn echo chamber. These guys are crushing us. The Democratic brand is toxic.
Think about that, the same guy who made the brand toxic now warning everyone else that it's toxic. That's like an arsonist showing up to the fire he started, pointing at the flames, and saying, wow, someone should really do something about this. And this isn't the first time. Remember when he swore nobody in his office ever used the word Latinx? Except, oops, turns out he'd been tossing it around himself in speeches and posts. Classic Newsom. Deny. Deflect. Distract.
Next. Just 2 weeks ago, here's what he said about it.
By the way, not one person ever in my office has ever used the word Latinx.
So can we finally put that to bed?
Yeah,
we agree?
but where did that even
No
come?
more Latinx, everybody.
Well, I just didn't even know where it came from. I'm like, what are people talking about?
But there was a person who used Latinx. It was actually a really important person. It was him. Right?
Yeah, that's right. And look, these aren't minor shifts. These are progressive issues that Gavin Newsom used to champion until fairly recently. And now he's not just walking away from them. He's sort of acting like they were never legitimate with that clip talking about Latinx.
That's why his little slip on Maher's show was so wild. This is a guy who lives off pretending problems don't exist. And yet, in that moment, he admitted Democrats are losing. He admitted cancel culture is real. He admitted the brand is toxic. It was like spotting a unicorn in San Francisco, rare, unbelievable, and gone in a blink. Because one moment of honesty doesn't erase years of lies. California is still collapsing under his leadership. That's his legacy. Not healing. Not unity. Just failure dressed up in slick hair and sound bites.
And look, Aaron, those aren't the only times that we found that he used it. He also used it a lot on social media. Look at a few of these right here. You see there, that is a lot of use of Latinx by him for somebody who said that nobody in his office has ever used that.
If Newsom really wants to talk accountability, he should start with himself. Own the homelessness crisis. Own the crime. Own the exodus of families and businesses. Until then, every word he spits about fixing Democrats is just another rehearsed line in his presidential audition.
This notion of cancel culture, you've been living it, you've been on the receiving end of it for years and years and years. That's real. And Democrats need to own up to that. They've got to mature about it.
And let's be honest, does anyone actually see Gavin Newsom winning a national election? The guy can't even manage his own state. Middle America isn't lining up for California-style politics, high taxes, soft on crime policies, woke experiments. They want results. Gavin has none. And here's the part the media won't say. Even as he plays the healer, he's already throwing shade. Did you catch the jab at Kamala Harris? He complained Democrats sound too judgmental, too circular, not making sense. If there's one Democrat known for word salad, it's Kamala. That wasn't an accident, that was shade. Newsom versus Harris? Yeah, that fight is coming.
We had a high water mark 2 weeks ago, and that was a CNN poll at 29% favorability. It's dropped in the NBC poll down to 27%. It's one thing to make noise, but you also have to make sense. And I think with this podcast and having the opportunity to dialogue with people I disagree with, it's an opportunity to try to find common ground and not take cheap shots. I'm not looking to put a spoke in the wheel of their, or at least a crowbar in the spokes of their wheel to trip them up, to your point. And I think it's important. Democrats, we tend to be a little more judgmental than we should be.
Credit where it's due. Bill Maher deserves props for cornering him. Newsom is usually scripted to the decimal. He doesn't slip. He doesn't confess. But Maher pressed him and, for once, the mask cracked. That's why Democrats avoid Maher's show, because he won't just let them spin without pushback. If Slick Gavin can slip, imagine what would happen if the rest of the party elite got grilled the same way. That's the nightmare when voters finally see what's underneath the polish. And with Newsom, it's not healing, it's hypocrisy.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want to run for president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state.
Bottom line, Gavin Newsom's moment of honesty changes nothing. California is still a mess. He's still the architect of decline. His shiny podcast isn't about healing, it's about branding. His politics aren't the future theory or warning. If Democrats think he's the answer for 2028, they're in worse shape than they realize. The cracks are showing. And if even Newsom starts telling the truth by accident, you know the problems run deeper than anyone wants to admit. But hey, that's my take. What about you? Do you think Newsom's moment was genuine, or just another calculated move? Drop your thoughts in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it, because this conversation is only getting started.